All right, so we've got this big stack of articles about Maddock Films
Yeah.
you've sent over, and
A lot to unpack here.
it seems like a really interesting story, and like more than just a Bollywood success story. They seem to be like really shaking up the industry.
Yeah, they really are. And what I think is so fascinating about Maddock Films is
Yeah.
how they've really been able to um, find that sweet spot, I think, between the art of making films
Mm-hmm.
and then like the actual business of it
Yeah,
and making it profitable and making good decisions.
absolutely. And that's not something you always see, right? You see a lot of great creative companies maybe stumble because they don't have that financial know-how.
Yeah.
So let's actually start by talking about the founder, Dinesh Vijan.
Okay.
So he didn't exactly take the typical path to becoming a
Sure.
Bollywood mogul.
Definitely like leaving a stable banking job at 23 to go make films is not the average career trajectory.
Not the usual way to do it.
No. And I think what's so interesting about it is that he didn't come from,
Yeah.
a film family. He had no connections.
Hmm.
So it was purely out of passion.
So like being Cyrus in 2005, that was his first film.
Yeah.
That's kind of a bold choice
Yeah.
for a newcomer to Bollywood.
Yeah. And I think it really speaks to him being willing to take risks
Mm-hmm.
and not just make typical Bollywood fare.
Yeah,
Being Cyrus was a dark comedy, which is not something
Yeah.
you see a lot of.
right.
So that was a really interesting choice for his debut film.
Yeah, and it kind of set the stage for his
Yeah,
partnership with the director Homiata Janya.
absolutely. And I think that partnership has been really key to a lot of his success.
Yeah, for sure. And then comes this whole Illuminati Films era.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he co-founded the company with Saif Ali Khan, and they were both aiming to make these films that were commercially successful but also artistically strong.
Hmm.
Do you think they were able to like strike that balance?
I think they were for a while.
Okay.
I mean, Love Ajkal, Cocktail, those were both
Yeah.
huge commercial successes.
They hit.
Yeah, they really were.
Yeah.
And those proved that Vijan could appeal to a really wide audience while still making these films
Yeah.
that have artistic merit and that aren't just like purely commercial.
Yeah.
But then they had things like Agent Vinod, which did not do so well.
Agent Vinod.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like a big budget action thriller that
Yeah.
didn't really connect with audiences.
It kind of flopped.
Do you think that like those kind of missteps
I think so.
like informed his
Yeah, I think a happy
future choices in film?
for sure.
Yeah.
I think anytime you have a big experience like that,
Yeah.
whether it's good or bad, you learn a lot from it. And especially from the bad ones.
Yeah.
You learn what not to do and what audiences maybe don't want.
Totally. And then, of course, we see this transition to Maddock Films.
Right.
So he goes solo. What did that transition look like? Was it like a clean break?
It seems like more of an evolution than a clean break.
Okay.
The things that you saw at Illuminati Films, like that strong storytelling, the genre bending, those things carried through to Maddock Films.
Yeah.
Finding Fanny Badlapur,
Yeah.
those were early hits for them.
Yeah.
And they really solidified that this is a studio that's going to make things that are a
Yeah.
little different, that are a little offbeat.
And it's interesting that they were experimenting with genre even in those early days.
Yeah.
They could have played it safe, right? They could have gone with
Completely.
more typical formulaic films,
For sure.
but they chose to take these risks.
And I think that's one of the reasons why they've been so successful,
Yeah.
because they recognized that things were changing
Yeah.
in the Indian entertainment landscape.
Yeah.
Digital platforms were on the rise. Content was becoming more accessible.
Totally.
Audience tastes were evolving, and they were paying attention to all that.
And it seems like they had this knack for like understanding what the audience wanted even before the audience necessarily knew it themselves.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that changing landscape a little bit more. What were some of those specific trends that they tapped into?
Well, they were looking at the Indian media and entertainment market,
Yeah.
and they saw that it was this huge market that was rapidly growing.
I mean, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
It is.
With so much potential for growth.
Absolutely.
So obviously they saw that opportunity.
Yeah. And it wasn't just about the market size. They were also paying attention to how consumer behavior was changing.
Yeah.
Younger generations weren't as interested in like that traditional Bollywood fare anymore. They wanted something different.
So that old formula of relying just on like star power?
It was starting to fade.
Okay.
Yeah. It wasn't working the way it used to.
Interesting.
Audiences were becoming more discerning. They wanted good stories, engaging characters, innovative filmmaking.
And Maddox seems to be like one of the few studios
Yeah.
that really grasped that
Yeah.
they embraced this whole idea of small is beautiful, right?
They did, and it was brilliant. They saw that these smaller budget films with these unique narratives could really resonate with audiences.
Yeah.
And they didn't need to rely on
Yeah.
huge stars and the extravagant sets to make a hit.
And it really paid off for them.
It did.
Stree, Sonu Ke Tutuki, Sweetie, Badhai Ho.
Huge hits.
Those were all massive hits.
Yeah, they were.
And they proved that you didn't need that formula.
Yeah. And they also show that Maddock really understood the changing Indian audience.
Yeah.
They weren't afraid to tell stories that were very rooted in Indian culture,
Yeah.
but that also had this kind of contemporary and relatable feel.
So they definitely had that creative vision down pat.
Yeah.
But we all know filmmaking is also a business.
Totally.
So how did Maddock kind of master that financial side of things?
Well, I think that's where Vijan's background in banking probably came in handy.
Okay.
He had this understanding of financial management, risk assessment, and that's so crucial in a business that can be as unpredictable as filmmaking.
Right. And it's not just about managing the costs. It's also about understanding
Yeah,
like those different revenue streams and how to maximize them.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially because things were changing so rapidly with the rise of digital platforms and streaming services.
Right.
Maddock really seems to have graphed how to navigate that and how to secure these really lucrative deals for digital and satellite rights for their films.
Yeah, you think about Stree, for example.
Oh.
It was made on a relatively modest budget,
Yeah.
but it just exploded at the box office, and then it generated even more revenue
Yeah.
from those digital and satellite rights.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of how they optimized those revenue streams.
Yeah.
They were thinking beyond just that traditional box office model.
Right.
And they were exploring these new avenues to monetize their content.
So they had the creative vision, they had that business acumen, they were riding this wave of success, and then boom, the pandemic hits. And that just kind of throws a wrench into the plans of pretty much every production house in the world.
For sure.
So how did Maddock kind of weather that storm?
Well, I think it really shows their adaptability.
Okay.
Theaters were shut down,
Yeah.
so everything changed.
Yeah.
And they had to pivot.
So did they just like wait it out and hope for things to go back to normal?
No, not at all. They were very proactive.
Okay.
They embraced those opportunities that were presented by the rise of those OTT platforms.
Totally.
They started releasing films directly on streaming services.
Right.
Because people still wanted content, even though they were locked down.
Yeah. Absolutely makes sense. But they didn't abandon
No.
theatrical releases completely, did they?
They didn't. They knew that there was still this appeal to the theatrical experience.
Yeah.
And they wanted to get audiences back
Yeah.
into cinemas once it was safe.
And that's where that decision to invest heavily
Right.
in the high quality VFX for Bhediya comes in.
Yeah, I think they realized that audiences would need a reason
It
to
was like-
leave their homes to go back to the theaters. They needed something spectacular, something they couldn't get
Yeah.
on the small screen.
So they were really aiming for like Hollywood level visuals,
I think so.
kind of raising the bar for VFX in Bollywood.
Yeah, I think that's what they were going for.
It was risky, but it definitely paid off.
It did.
Bhediya was just a visual treat, and it really did attract audiences back.
Yeah, and it also showed that they were committed
Yeah.
to really pushing those boundaries of filmmaking.
It's amazing to see how they were constantly adapting
Yeah.
and innovating, even during this really challenging time.
Yeah, for sure.
But they didn't stop there, right? They had another trick up their sleeve.
Yeah.
They were kind of taking a cue from a certain superhero franchise.
You're talking about their cinematic universe?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, bold move for sure.
Yeah.
Inspired by, I think, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah, let's actually talk about that a little bit more after a quick break.
Okay.
We'll be right back. So we were talking about this cinematic universe that Maddock Films is putting together.
Yeah, it's a very smart strategy, I think.
What's the idea behind it?
Well, they've had all these hits in the horror comedy genre,
Yeah.
and this is a way to build on that. So by kind of interconnecting these films, Stree, Bhediya, Ruhi,
Yeah.
they're creating this whole world, right, with recurring characters.
Right, like a bigger world.
Yeah.
More storylines.
Exactly.
It's like each film is kind of like a piece of a puzzle,
Yeah.
and the audience wants to see how it all fits together.
Right, and it's not just about the stories themselves.
Yeah.
They've also been really innovative, I think, in the way that they've marketed these films.
Yeah.
They really understand how to use social media
Totally.
to build hype and connect with a younger audience.
Yeah, I mean, their marketing campaigns for like Zara Hot K Zara Baka have been really effective.
Yeah, they've gone beyond those traditional methods.
Yeah.
And they're using things like Instagram Reels. They're encouraging user-generated content.
Yeah.
And that really creates this viral marketing loop.
Yeah, so they're turning their fans into like brand ambassadors, basically.
Totally. And it's a really smart way to do it.
Yeah, it's cost effective, it's engaging, but they're not putting all their eggs in that horror comedy basket, are they?
They're not. No, they've been smart about diversifying their portfolio.
Okay.
So while they're building this horror comedy universe,
Yeah.
they're also using those OTT platforms to experiment
Right.
with different genres and release films that might not have worked in theaters.
Like Mimi Dosvi, for example.
Exactly. Those were originally meant for theaters,
Yeah.
but they ended up finding success on streaming platforms.
Yeah.
So it allows them to cater to all these different audience segments while also testing new ideas and mitigating risk.
Yeah, it's a really smart strategy.
Yeah.
Shows that they get the evolving entertainment landscape. So we've talked about the creative vision. We've talked about this business acumen. But let's talk about the numbers. How successful have they actually been financially?
They've been really successful.
Okay.
They have these high EBITDA and PAT margins.
Yeah.
They're actually outperforming a lot of the established production houses in Bollywood.
Wow.
For the fiscal year ending in March 2023, they reported revenue of 228 crore rupees with a compounded annual growth rate of 35%
Wow. That's huge.
over the past 5 years.
That's really impressive, especially in an industry that can be so volatile.
Absolutely.
So what do you attribute that financial success to?
I think a few things. First of all, they focus on cost-effective production.
Okay.
They're getting the most out of their budgets
Yeah.
without sacrificing quality.
Right.
They're also very strategic about talent selection.
Yeah.
They often go with fresh faces, actors who fit the roles perfectly, rather than chasing those big stars with the big price tags.
Right. And of course, we talked about those diverse revenue streams.
Yes.
They've been so good at leveraging those.
Their financial discipline is really evident.
Yeah.
They're not just throwing money at projects.
Right.
They're making calculated decisions that lead to sustainable profitability.
And that's attractive to investors.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I mean, they secured funding from Nepean Capital,
They did in 22.
who acquired a 50% stake in the company.
Yeah, that's a huge vote of confidence
It is, yeah.
from the investment community.
So speaking of vision, what's next for Maddock Films?
Okay, so they've got a lot in the pipeline.
Okay.
They've announced 8 new films for their horror comedy universe.
Wow.
Including sequels to some of their biggest hits like Stree 3
Okay.
and Bhediya 2. And the cinematic universe is going to culminate
Oh.
in this epic 2-part finale called Mahayud in 2028.
Wow, a 2-part finale. That's
Yeah.
a big commitment to that universe.
It is.
But it's not just horror comedy, right?
No, they're branching out. They've got films coming out in all these different genres.
Okay.
Action, adventure, even period dramas.
Chhaava is one that I'm really intrigued by.
Yeah.
It's a period piece about Chhatrapati Sambhaji Maharaj.
It seems like they're always trying to push boundaries
Yeah,
and challenge themselves.
for sure.
It's not just about replicating past success.
Yeah, they want to do something new.
It's about trying new things, taking risks, and let's not forget about their foray into these like big budget, star-studded films with projects like Skyforce with Akshay Kumar,
Yeah.
Tehran with John Abraham.
Yeah, they're adding those big budget films to
Yeah.
their slate alongside their smaller, more experimental films.
It's a really interesting mix.
It is.
It's a way to expand their reach,
Yeah.
attract a wider audience,
Yeah.
and really solidify their position as like a major player in Bollywood.
Right. They want to be taken seriously as
Yeah.
a studio.
So they're playing on multiple fields, basically.
Yeah.
Balancing this commercial ambition with their commitment to this innovative storytelling. It's a fascinating approach.
It is, yeah. I'm really curious to see how it plays out in the
Absolutely.
long run.
Yeah, for sure.
Maddock Films' journey is really a testament to this adaptability
I think so.
and their ability to kind of stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah, they've disrupted that traditional Bollywood model
Yeah.
by combining that creative vision with the business acumen
Yeah.
and that deep understanding of their audience.
And they set a new standard, I think, for what's possible
Yeah,
in Indian cinema.
I think so.
And they don't seem to be slowing down at all.
Nope.
So it begs the question, can they maintain this momentum?
It's hard to predict the future,
It is.
especially in an industry as like dynamic as entertainment.
Right.
But based on their past,
Yeah.
I think they'll be ready to adapt to whatever comes their way.
Yeah, they've shown that they're willing to experiment, to evolve, to embrace change. They seem to have a knack for anticipating trends
Yeah.
and sometimes even creating them.
Yeah, for sure.
So their commitment to innovation their willingness to take risks, that deep connection with their audience. I think all those factors point to a pretty bright future.
I think so.
For Maddock Films. And it's not just about their own success either.
Right.
They're inspiring all these new filmmakers.
They are.
Showing them that it's possible to break the mold.
Yeah.
Create something truly special.
Exactly. And they're proving that Bollywood is more than just song and dance.
Right.
It's a platform for powerful storytelling,
Yeah.
innovative filmmaking, thought-provoking narratives.
And Maddock is kind of leading the charge.
I think so.
Paving the way for this new era of Indian cinema. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into Maddock Films, what are some of the key takeaways?
Okay. Well, I think the biggest one is the importance of adaptability and innovation.
Yeah.
In a world that's changing so quickly,
Right.
the people who are willing to embrace change and constantly evolve, those are the ones who are going to succeed.
That's a great point. They've also shown that it's possible to balance that artistic vision with commercial success.
Absolutely.
It's not an either-or proposition.
It's not. No, you can have both.
Yeah, and finally, I think their journey shows how important it is to really understand your audience.
Yeah.
They've demonstrated time and time again that they get what Indian audiences want, and they deliver those films that resonate with those desires.
I think that's one of the keys to their success.
Well said. Maddock Films is a company to watch, a force to be reckoned with.
For sure.
A true inspiration for anyone who believes in the power of storytelling and the magic of cinema.
Absolutely.
So that's it for this deep dive into the fascinating world of Maddock Films.
Thanks for having me.
We hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, this was fun.
And that you found it informative, insightful, and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
Yeah, I hope so.
And we encourage you to keep exploring Maddock Films and discover that magic for yourself.
Absolutely.
This has been the deep dive.
Yeah.
And we'll catch you on the next one.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot. Maddock Films' beginnings, their ability to tap into what audiences want.
Yeah.
Their really strong financial performance and their plans for the future.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground.
And I think what really stands out to me is just like their constant need to innovate. Like they're not just content with replicating their successes. They're always looking for that next.
They're not afraid to push the boundaries.
Yeah.
And kind of redefine what Indian cinema can be.
It's like they've taken like the best of independent cinema and the best of like big studio filmmaking.
Yeah, it's a really unique blend.
Yeah, they've struck this balance between like the artistic vision and...
Right, and that's not easy to do.
Yeah.
They've shown that you don't have to choose between art and commerce.
Yeah.
You can have both.
And Maddock Films really embodies that.
Yeah, they're a great example of that.
It all comes back to Dinesh Vijan.
Yeah.
I mean, his story is pretty amazing.
It really is. Going from a banker to a Bollywood mogul is pretty incredible.
He's a visionary. He's not afraid to take risks.
Yeah.
He's built this amazing company. And it really reflects his passion for storytelling.
Yeah, and his business sense.
It's kind of wild to think that just a few years ago, they were this relatively small production house.
Yeah.
And now they're a major force in the industry.
It's true.
They're going toe-to-toe with the big studios.
Yeah, they're not afraid to compete.
Their rise has been fast, but it's been built on these smart decisions, these creative risks, and really understanding their audience.
Yeah, and I think that's key.
Yeah.
They're making more than just movies. They're creating experiences.
So the big question is, can they keep this up?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it?
What does the future hold for Maddock Films?
It's tough to say for sure.
Yeah.
The entertainment industry is so unpredictable.
But if their past is any indication, I think they'll be able to roll with the punches.
Yeah, they've shown that they're not afraid to adapt.
They're always experimenting, evolving, embracing change.
And they seem to have this knack for predicting trends.
Yeah.
And sometimes even setting them.
So their commitment to innovation, their willingness to take risks, that strong connection they have with their audience, I think those are all really good signs.
Yeah, that's so too.
For the future of Maddock Films.
I think they have a bright future.
And their impact goes beyond just their own success. Right. They're inspiring this new generation of filmmakers.
They are.
They're showing them that it's possible to do things differently.
To think outside the box.
Yeah.
To really challenge those conventions.
And create something special. They're proving that Bollywood can be more than just song and dance.
They're telling these powerful stories, making innovative films.
Yeah.
And tackling really interesting themes.
And Maddock Films is leading the way. They're ushering in this new era of Indian cinema. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what are some of the key takeaways?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that adaptability
Okay.
and innovation are essential in today's world.
Yeah.
Things are constantly changing,
Right.
and those who are willing to embrace that change are the ones who are going to thrive.
They've also shown that you can find that balance
Mm-hmm.
between artistic vision and commercial success.
Absolutely. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other.
And I think their story really highlights how important it is
Yeah,
to understand your audience.
totally. You have to know who you're making things for.
And Maddock Films, they just get it.
Yeah, they really do.
They understand what Indian audiences want, and they deliver films that connect with them on a deep level.
I think that's a huge part of their success.
Maddock Films is definitely a company to watch.
Yeah,
They're a force to be reckoned with,
for sure.
and they're an inspiration to anyone who believes in the power of storytelling. So that's it for this deep dive into Maddock Films.
This is a good one.
We hope you found it informative,
Yeah.
insightful, and maybe even a little bit inspiring.
Yeah.
We encourage you to keep exploring their work
Yeah,
and discover the magic of Maddock Films for yourself.
absolutely.
This has been the deep dive,
Yeah.
and we'll catch you on the next one.
See you later.
So that was today's episode of my Side Hustle Weekend podcast. For everyone listening, if you're ready to take action on what you learned today, here's where you can find more resources. First, head over to sidehustleweekend.com. I've put together detailed guides, templates, and case studies. And while you are there, don't miss out on my free newsletter, Side Hustle Weekend. If you found value in today's discussion, hit that like button and subscribe to join our Weekend Hustlers community. Turn on notifications so you don't miss our episodes where we break down more side hustle strategies. Check the description below for all the tools and resources we mentioned today. Remember, everyone's journey starts with a single step. Whether you're looking to make an extra $500 a month or build something bigger, start with what you learned today and take action. So, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next episode where we'll break down another practical way to grow your income.